Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another family involved true crime video. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I love getting to work with an actual family member. I feel like it just elevates things and really helps me tell the story from their perspective, because oftentimes things are reported incorrectly. That's why I love when I have the opportunity to have a family member work with me, look over my research, and then also get to partake in the video itself. I have done this with several different families. If you've not seen any of those videos, I will link my family involved playlist below. And today I'm going to be telling you about something known as the Delphi Murders or the Snapchat Murders. And today I have Kelsi German joining me for this video, who is the sister of Libby German, who is one of the victims in the case I'm about to tell you about.
I am Kelsi German. I am Liberty German's older sister. At the time the girls were murdered, I was 17 years old and I am now 19. At the beginning of all of this, I wanted to go into communications. I wanted to be the person that interviews families rather than the person that works with families. Eventually though, I found my passion in victims advocacy and I started meeting families that were going through what I was going through, and I lost myself in it. I was so passionate for helping these people, it was crazy. So since then, I have decided to major in psychology and minoring in forensics and law and society.
All right, so now that you have been introduced to Kelsi, let's go ahead and start talking about this case. So Delphi is a town in Indiana that is northwest of Indianapolis, and it's a pretty small town. Under 3,000 people are currently living there, and the town is mostly farming area with a lot of land and plains. And Delphi is considered to be a pretty safe area. I mean, all the time you hear this in true crime cases, like, it was so safe, no one was expecting this, and then something happened. And that's why I always say, even in the safest of areas, you have to be vigilant. It's just, part of living in the modern world. But this was a community that is known for leaving doors unlocked and, letting kids roam around without a lot of adult supervision. Like, there was a sense of safety in this community. A lot of families are actually attracted to Delphi to raise their children in, because it's a farming area, it's gorgeous, it's mellow and safe. And because it's in the country, it's considered to be a really safe area with very little commotion and not much going on.
Living in Delphi is the most small town experience you could ever have. The school is so small. I only graduated with like 96 people, if that kind of tells you how small we are. And I know there's smaller places, but compared to like the college I go to now, like 96 is nothing. And it's great because you know everybody and everybody knows you. And that can be a bad thing sometimes, but I think the fact that we all know each other kind of added to the fact that we all loved each other and cared so much when the news on the girls broke. Because we are such a tight-knit, close community, everybody was able to come together and help us search, and everybody wanted to be there to help, mainly because it was such a small town feel. It's definitely not the same now. Now it's a lot scarier. People don't leave their doors unlocked anymore, or go outside without parents, or go to the trails without supervision. We used to be able to go to the trails whenever we wanted and not be scared that something was going to happen. We were able to leave our doors unlocked and not be scared that somebody was going to come in and rob us. We were not worried about not having a gun in the house. It was just not a scary place to live. And I think now, after the girls, it's just gotten a lot scarier for people to live there. But we're still all super close and we still all love each other, and we're taking back our community one step at a time. Every day is another day closer to where we can live knowing that we are safe in Delphi, because it's such a great community and such great people live there.
Now this is Abigail Williams and this is Libby German. They both lived in Delphi. They were in middle school. Abby was actually 13 and Libby was 14. Libby's full name was Liberty German and Abby's full name is Abigail Williams. The girls met in school and they were best friends. They actually both played the saxophone in the school band together, and that was something that brought them really close together. And they also played a variety of sports together, such as volleyball, and were actually going to be on the same softball team that year. Both of the girls were considered to be very close with their families. Libby was known to be a lot more outgoing than Abby was. Abby was very quiet and reserved, while Libby was a lot lot more outspoken and outgoing. And in that way, they complemented each other and they were best friends. They both were really creative, really loved to do arts and crafts. The night before this all happened, they actually spent the evening painting together.
Well, I can start out with saying both girls were amazing. Everybody loved being around them. They were friends with so many different people. Their personalities were very different, but because of that, they were so close. And it was such an amazing bond to watch them grow as friends together. So Libby was involved in everything she could possibly be involved in. She did every single sport that Delphi ever let you do. Volleyball, soccer, swimming, softball, and then on top of that, she was in the band. She loved art. She was just an all-around great person. And Abby was the same way. She loved art and band and sports. Her and Libby were in volleyball together and was later going to play softball with Libby. Libby was more of an outgoing person. She loved spending time with her friends and family. She loved going on rides at the park, and she loved playing with whoever it was. She loved children. She loved adults. She just loved people. That's how she was raised. That's how she became the amazing woman that she was turning into. Abby was a saxophone player. She loved volleyball. She spent a lot of time with her family. She loved her family and her cat. She was a very outdoorsy kind of person, and that's kind of how both girls were too. One thing that both girls really shared was photography and art. So the night before, they were actually painting in their room after having a girls' night. We all kind of hung out downstairs. We were watching movies with some of my friends, and it was just a really good night. And that's kind of how it always was when Abby was over.
So let's go to February 13th, 2017. At 1:45, Kelsi actually was going to be taking the girls to Monon High Bridge Trail, which is part of the Delphi Historic Trails. And it has this old train track bridge overgoing this creek, and it's really rickety looking. It is not safe. You're not supposed to go on this bridge. But this whole area is just a gorgeous place. It's really known for its beauty. A lot of people go there to go hiking, fishing, to spend time outdoors, as well as take pictures. People take like prom pictures there and wedding pictures there. So it's a beautiful area. So it was a Monday, and that Monday morning, the girls had school off, and they were super excited to have school off. I mean, I'm sure all of you, or some of you that are still in school, love when you have a day off of school, especially on a Monday. Nothing better, right?
So that day, it was kind of a last minute idea for the girls to go to the High Bridge. A High Bridge is a part of our trail system that a lot of people go when they spend time there. That's where we would go to take pictures. We would go there just to see the beautiful scenery that's around. That day, they had the day off, and they knew that they wanted to do something, but they didn't know what, whether it was stay home or go with me somewhere. They didn't know. So that morning, they actually helped my grandma with some business stuff, and they had painted a little bit, and my dad had made them breakfast that morning. And while I was getting ready, Libby came upstairs and asked me what I was doing that day. And when I told her I had to work and I was going to Chase's house, I told her I couldn't go with her, but she wanted me to take her. And so I told her no, not that day, maybe another day. A little while later, I had told her that I would take her if she could get a ride home. And Grandma said yes. So she was asking Grandma, and she was asking my dad, and they had both said it was okay and that my dad would pick her up later. And so that's kind of what led up to her going, was the fact that they wanted to do something on their day off. They just wanted to do something fun. They wanted to get out of the house. They didn't want to be there all stuck in the house on the day off of school. It was a nice day.
Girls wanted to go to that area because they wanted to take pictures. What else do middle school girls love to do? They all have Snapchat and everything, social media, so they wanted to like take pictures of each other out in this beautiful landscape.
Another thing I remember was eating breakfast with her that morning. My dad had made banana pancakes, and we sat there and we ate, and that was our last meal together, and I'll never forget that.
So to be exact, Kelsi dropped the girls off at 1:35, and then she left because she had plans with her boyfriend.
So that day, I dropped the girls off at around 1:35. I watched Libby walk away after telling her I loved her. She said it back, and I made sure they both had sweatshirts. So they continued to walk, and I drove away. After I dropped them off, I called Chase and told him that I was on my way. Chase left a little bit before I did. He had to work at 4 and I was working at 4:30. So there was a little bit of a gap, and so I had a little time to sit down and watch a movie with his dad and hang out until it was my turn.
At 2:07, Libby posted a picture of Abby on Snapchat of her on the bridge. And then she also saved a video of a man walking towards them. Now, this picture went pretty viral back in February 2017. I remember seeing it when this happened and people frantically searching for whoever this could be. In fact, it led to a lot of false accusations, like people on the internet just being like, oh, it kind of looks like this guy and comparing pictures. And the police even had to make a statement actually saying like, chill out, guys. The girls were supposed to only be hanging out there for a few hours. They were supposed to be picked up by Libby's dad at a certain location at 3:30 p.m. However, when 3:30 rolled around, Derek came to pick them up at the exact spot they were supposed to be, and they were nowhere to be found. Derek tried to call Libby multiple times, figuring, maybe they're just taking too long. They're just really into their photo session and they didn't realize what time it was.
Around 4:12, I got a couple calls from my grandma. I didn't hear my phone go off the first time, so the second time it went off, I knew something must have been wrong, because my grandma never calls multiple times unless she really needs something, especially if she knows that I have to go to work that day. So I picked up my phone and I called my grandma back, and the first thing she said was, have you heard from Libby? And that was the hardest moment, I think, of that particular day. After we heard, I called my work and told them I was going to help search for my sister. I got in my car and drove to High Bridge. At the moment, I called my grandma and told her I was on my way. I could hear the scaredness in her voice, the amount of hurt that she was feeling just knowing that something was wrong. And that's kind of when I knew, like, there's something happening. Like, I don't know where the girls are. I don't know where Libby is. I haven't heard from her. I was confused. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what to say to my family. After I had told my grandma I was on my way, I arrived at the bridge. It was probably around 4:30, I'm assuming, based on when I got the phone call. We were gonna go to the trails and look and see if we could find the girls ourselves. Like, our main thought was they must have fallen, dropped a phone, maybe they got lost in the woods, they wandered off a little too far and couldn't find their way back. So at that time, me and my uncle crossed the bridge. We got down to the private drive and we were walking around yelling their names, trying to find out where they might be, hoping that if they had gotten hurt they would just yell back and say, hey, we're over here, can you help us? At that point we hadn't heard anything, so we headed back. We decided that it was time that we got a hold of the police. It was starting to get dark. We knew that they needed help. Every possible situation was going through our brains, and we never thought we would end up with the outcome we did. We got a hold of the police finally. My grandparents went to the police station.
So police and family decided to search the area together and see if they could find them. And they searched till it got very dark. In fact, they kept the search going until about midnight. And then they decided to call it quits for the night.
Knowing the area, I knew areas that the girls would have went if they were going there willingly. So going around those areas, I was able to help them go to spots that, like, I knew Libby would have been if she wanted to be there. Soon after that, search parties started to form of people in the community. People were coming from all over to help us. They were coming from different cities. They were from our community. There were people going out there from other states, I believe. There were just people from all over there searching. Later on that evening, I believe around midnight, the search was called off for whatever reason. They said it was because of the safety. The terrain was really rough and rugged, and they just didn't want people to get hurt. They didn't want to have to put their resources into helping other people when we needed to find the girls. That was really defeating, knowing that the search was called off. I went home to try to sleep, and I didn't get any.
Now at this point, the police said that there was no reason to suspect any type of foul play, that the girls probably just ran away or got lost or like hiding or something. These are 2 middle school girls. So the next day rolled around and there was still no sign of the girls. I mean, the families are just devastated, they're tired. So they started first thing, 7 a.m. They all met at a fire station, a bunch of people that were searching, and they split into groups and went out to look.
We got up the next morning and we headed out to look again. We were all put into groups, and then I was put into the group that actually got to cross the bridge, and the others stayed behind to look on the wooded area that's over on the other side.
They brought in drones and dogs, and they even had a dive team search that creek that they were hanging around near the bridge. They went to all different parts of the trail system throughout the town and were just looking everywhere possible. Police obviously tried to track their cell phones, but they believe that they were turned off like right after they disappeared. Tips started coming in. There was one woman who said that she was on the bridge right after the time that they believe they went missing, and she didn't see anything out of the ordinary, but that was really it. So it was very, very scary for Abby and Libby's families. And then the next day, February 14th, Valentine's Day, their bodies were sadly found.
And we were looking underneath the bridge, and as soon as we'd gotten back to the private drive, somebody yelled up the hill that they'd found a shoe. And knowing that I dropped the girls off and I remembered what they were wearing, I knew exactly what shoes my sister and Abby were both wearing. So as soon as they yelled up what type of shoe it was, I knew exactly whose it was. It wasn't long after they told us that they'd found the shoe that a searcher found the bodies of the girls.
The girls' bodies were found about a half mile from the bridge and were also found on the edge of a private property line.
I was totally defeated. That morning, I had actually packed a bag with a granola bars and a blanket in them, hoping that the girls would need them. They would be so happy to have a granola bar after being outside all night. So after that, the experience is very blurry. I don't remember much up until the funeral, to be honest. It was countless interrogations, countless news reporters coming to the house, countless people bringing over bread and pasta, and that's what I remember from those days. I remember laying in my bed crying, and I remember my grandparents crying together, and I remember very vividly the day that I asked my grandparents if we could move my bed into their bedroom, because I couldn't sleep knowing that there was somebody out there, and I wasn't able to talk to anyone about it. I was scared to talk to my grandparents. I was scared to talk to any of my family, really, and I think that's mainly because I knew they were hurting too, trying to go through something when everybody around you is hurting too. You don't want them to hurt like you're hurting, and so you just keep quiet.
It hit the community really, really hard. There was tons of support for the families. There were multiple vigils held for the girls, and the school that they attended took a bunch of extra steps to try and make other students feel comforted in such a horrible time. You know, they offered them counseling. It was just a very sad, sad time because these 2 girls had so much life left to live. They were such well-liked girls too, and they're so young, and they were just innocently enjoying their day off of school when their lives were tragically stolen from them. They did autopsies on their bodies and found that both of these girls were killed in a double homicide. So there was definitely foul play involved, which I think was so weird that the police instantly ruled that out right off the gate. They didn't think that was a possibility.
In the beginning, I trusted the police a lot. There were times I got really angry because I felt like they were interrogating me more than anyone else. And at that point, they probably were. I was the last person to see the girls, and I understand that now. But at the time, that was the worst part of everything. It was so defeating knowing that they wanted to talk to me again, knowing that I needed to give my DNA to them a 3rd time, knowing that they were still questioning whether I knew what happened. And now I know that they were doing their job, and they still are, and everything they're doing is for us and for the girls, and they are doing such a tremendous job now. I think they've messed up a lot, and I think they're making up for that in different ways. But I have a lot of faith in them, and I know that they're going to be the reason this is solved. In the beginning, there were a lot of things they didn't know. So now that they know more than they did then, they're able to investigate better. They're able to use different technology. they're able to use resources that they maybe didn't have before.
So then February 15th, they released the shot from Snapchat with the picture of the man in the background. At first, they said that this man was someone that they just wanted to speak to see if they could try to draw him out of the woodworks. But then a few days later, on the 19th, they announced that he was their suspect in this case. This person has never come forward and has never been found. And then we found out that on Libby's phone, there was a video audio recording saved that you can actually hear a male's voice saying, "Down the hill."
Guys. Down the hill. Guys. Down the hill. Guys. Down the hill.
And they believe that this likely was the man who committed these murders. And then police have also apparently found a recording of the girls talking about how some man was following them. And so police believe that the girls knew that something was going on right before it happened, and that they were starting to take recordings because these girls were actually known for being really into true crime. So they were smart enough to take these recordings and photos and try to, catch their own killer in a way. Police do believe they did this on purpose and that they were afraid of this man. As far as the video of them talking about the man following them, they have not released that. As in all the cases I cover, the police are not releasing all of the available information, and that's just because they're trying to build their case. So hopefully they have a reason for keeping certain things from the public. They've also indicated that there's additional information on the phone that they have not released in case they have to go to a trial. It's been quite some time now, since February 2017, and there have been no major leads in this case. Police have had so many tips though, however, we're not sure if any have really panned out. And they released this sketch based on the pictures that they actually have of him, which are super grainy. They've tried everything to make these, better quality. They're as good as they're gonna get. They've also had some people who think they witnessed the man, and based on their, witness statements, this is what they have come up with.
Well, investigators say they remain confident they will find whoever killed Abby Williams and Libby German, as the pictures and notes of thanks line the investigation's headquarters here in Delphi. Nearly 2 months later, authorities tell me roughly 10 different agencies remain involved in the investigation. Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby says they are still awaiting some results and still need to identify the suspect seen in this picture. Lesenby tells me property owner Ron Logan remains involved with the investigation, but they are not calling him a suspect. Investigators served a search warrant at his home last month. Meanwhile, the number of tips pouring in is now close to 20,000, with roughly 1,500 of those still awaiting review.
So I resort back to the fact that we have no one arrested or jailed at this point, no charges pending against someone. So we're somewhat as we were with day one, that we accept even new information, this very day.
They believe that this man was around 220 pounds and had reddish brown hair. In December of 2017, the family got to go on the Dr. Phil show.
And this is the sketch. It does look like the picture,
Yes.
But this is based on witnesses saying what they saw of a man there at the time.
There has been something positive since. In January of 2018, a new law had come into effect in Indiana, and this allows police to take DNA samples from anyone who is arrested for a felony case. And then those DNA samples are then tested on national databases of DNA, such as GEDmatch. Definitely opt in on GEDmatch if you want to see more cases get solved. I will leave information of how to do so below. So this could be something that helps solve the case. So let's talk about some of the persons of interest here. In September of 2017, police arrested a man named Daniel Nations. Daniel is a registered sex offender from Indiana, but he was actually arrested in Woodland Park, Colorado. And he was actually charged with threatening strangers on a trail with a hatchet up in Monument, Colorado. So this is a pretty sketchy dude. And he had actually been driving around this area with expired plates, and police pulled him over. They saw that he had an outstanding warrant on his name, and the El Paso County Sheriff's Department does say that there are similarities between the two cases, but they haven't released too much info about this guy Daniel. And that's actually because of the Indiana investigators. They do not want too much being released on this guy. So it's possible that there might be some potential evidence on this guy. On January 5th, 2018, Daniel was actually arrested for threatening various members of the public here in Colorado, and because he had a warrant out for his arrest, he was put in jail. On January 24th, he was actually transferred to Indiana and was put in custody for failure to register as a sex offender. However, in February of 2018, police said that they no longer think that he is a suspect in this case. Then there's Charles Eldridge. He was arrested on January 8th, 2019 in Union City, Indiana. He was actually only alerted to the Indiana detectives because he has a striking similarity to that picture, but that was the only reason why they were really looking at him, and eventually they also decided that he was not a suspect. Then there's Thomas Bruce. Thomas is actually a pastor, but he was charged with fatally shooting a woman and sexually assaulting 2 others in St. Louis, and that happened November 19th of 2018. And a lot of people noticed that he had a similar stature to the guy that they suspect in the Delphi murder case. He was also dressed really similar to him, wearing a flat kind of hat and a navy blue jacket, which is very similar to what the guy in the photos is wearing. Bruce was charged with 17 felony counts. However, they have not yet connected him to the Delphi murders or said if they really see any potential that he was involved in that as well. And this is when they said that that previously released sketch is a suspect, but they actually don't consider him to be the primary suspect. The primary suspect actually looks like this. The police say that this person may range from his 20s to his 40s, but that he looks younger than his true age. And they also came out saying that they believe that the killer is currently living in Delphi, and it's a small town. They believe that he either works in the town or has worked in the town, or at least visited the town on a regular basis if he didn't actually live there. They literally said in the press conference, "We believe that you are hiding in plain sight, maybe even in this room," which is interesting. The Golden State Killer actually went to one of his own press conferences. I forgot to mention it in my last video and I was so annoyed that I forgot it, but he did actually go to one of the press conferences. Some criminals get off on that type of thing, and it's interesting that police think that he could even be in the room.
To the killer, who may be in this room, we believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered 2 little girls? 2 children. Only a coward would do such a thing.
They even said that they believe that they have interviewed someone close to him or have actually interviewed him. So police have said that they think they're going to be able to solve this case. They do not believe that this case will go cold. Police also said that there are reports of a car left in a parking lot of an abandoned building in Delphi the same afternoon that the girls were killed. Police are looking for anyone that may have seen that and could provide descriptions of those cars because they have really no idea. One thing that's really interesting about this case to me is it has never been released exactly how the girls died. They have sealed their autopsies, so we don't know exactly what happened to them. We don't know if they were assaulted. We don't know how they actually passed, and it's interesting. There are a lot of mixed opinions on this. There's a lot of people who think it's good that they didn't release that. There's a lot of people that think that it could potentially lead to this case being solved, and that the more information, the better. So I'm curious about what you guys think. The reward has now been bumped up to $200,000 for any information that leads to them arresting the person who is responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby. In May of this year, it was announced that there will be $1.2 million of funding going towards rehabbing the Monone High Bridge Trail. And in August of 2017, the families announced their plans to build a $1 million sports complex for Delphi in memory of the girls.
So the park is what we are creating to remember the girls. Both girls were really into arts. They were really active in sports. They were really active in their school, in the band, in all of this different kind of extracurricular activities that they were into. And so we wanted to create something to keep their memory alive and to honor the people and hobbies they loved, and to keep the memories of others alive as well. And in this park, there will be 3 softball fields, an amphitheater, and a walking trail. We will also have a memorial path going through the park. In this, we are going to have names of victims, of family members, of loved ones that we just want to remember. So right now what I have been doing for the girls is more social media advocacy. What I've been doing is sharing on Twitter different articles about the girls, but also about other families. I've been involved in helping other people, and so I would really encourage you to follow me on my Twitter, which is at libertyg_sister, as well as follow my family on the Brainstorming for Abby and Libby on Facebook. These are two super important social media outlets that we use that allow us to connect with people all over the world that want to help us share the word about the girls and just get these stories out there that deserve to be heard. I wasn't involved in the beginning. I didn't want people to see my face. I didn't want to put my face out there. I didn't want my voice out there. I was scared. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want people to come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I can't imagine what you're going through. Oh my goodness, this has to hurt. Like, I can't imagine what you're feeling. I didn't want to hear that, and I still don't really want to hear that, because you're right. You might not be able to imagine it, but there are 200,000 families that can't imagine it. That is one of the things that drives me most. Those families are hurting just as much as my family. Knowing that I can help them is what drives me to stay so involved in other cases. But for our case, the thing that drives me most is my sister. Sometimes I think back of like fights that we got into, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have been such a bad sister. I shouldn't have been so mean to her. I shouldn't have said no so many times to taking her to McDonald's to get french fries. I should have just taken her to the movies. I should have just went to that game. I should have just went to High Bridge with her that day. All of these things that go through your brain, and you're like, wow, I should have just been a better sister, and this wouldn't have happened. And that feeling right there, that feeling of the what if that hits you so hard every day, that is what drives me to keep going. That is what makes me continue to fight for my sister. Please follow me on Twitter. Please follow the Abby and Libby brainstorming group. Thanks so much for all your support. We couldn't do this without you. Continue to share the flyer. Continue to share the story of these amazing girls, because we are going to get justice someday very soon, I hope, and you're going to be part of it. So thank you.
The family has also asked that if you are able to, please make a quick post anywhere on social media about this and use the hashtag Abby and Libby. I really do think there's a chance that this could be solved, and I would love to see justice for Abby and Libby, especially because they, really tried to capture this guy. They had a bad feeling about him, or something may have happened that they noticed, and they decided to start filming, which is really incredible. And I would love to see that actually go somewhere and for this to be solved, because they took that extra step. It's getting very dark in my house. The sun is almost setting. I forgot how dark it's getting so early these days. It is fall, you guys. Hello. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you would like to see more videos, including family members like Kelsi telling their side of things, by giving this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already, and definitely check out all of the information in the description box for ways to help the family. But that's it for me today, guys. I hope you're having a great day. Stay safe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Where'd you go?